You're listening to the Big Sci Fi Podcast, the biggest sci fi podcast in the galaxy, with Adina, Brian, Chris, and Steve. We're a part of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network, and we're having more fun than ever celebrating our 10th season and 4 years of friendship talking all things science fiction. Calling all sci-fi fans, you're invited to the party. Let's have some fun.
Hello and welcome back to the Big Sci Fi Podcast, where we talk all things sci-fi. On this show, we get nerdy, we get spicy, and sometimes we laugh hysterically. Today, I want to talk about the Star Trek Deep Space Nine classic, The Visitor. Now, let me be real with you all. This episode is going to be tough for me to talk about because I just lost my father back in April. To help me analyze this film in excruciating detail and hopefully not cry are my friends Adina Mignona, Brian Donahue, and Steve Merkin. How is everyone doing today?
Doing just fine. You have our support always, Chris.
Thank you. I always appreciate that. You guys really are the best.
Yeah.
And I'm always down for a good cry. Just ask anybody that knows me. So if we cry, Chris, it's okay.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm going to be the one that makes y'all cry.
Oh, okay.
Because this episode,
Wow.
I will say, I guess you know,
No.
For the right reasons? Or the
No,
wrong
because I
reasons?
have, what year is this? This is 2016. This is 2026. I have
Uh-huh.
15
Yeah,
years
2026.
on Chris of dealing with this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's fair.
Yep.
And-
but it's still
Yeah.
there.
Yes.
I will say, as sad as I do find this episode and it does make me tear up here and there, nothing makes me cry more than the last episode of DS9, What You Leave Behind, when they're having the flashbacks of the different characters, but specifically when Jake is having the flashback with Cisco and they're
Yes.
on the Bajoran ship that they build. And I'm like, that gets me every time. And he's processing the fact that now his father is really gone and he's never dealt with what this Jake is going through. So
Right.
that also gets me more than, for whatever reason, more than this episode, which is
Yeah.
a lot. But yeah, it's considered to be one of the best DS9 episodes ever. I think is an essential episode. What are your thoughts on it, and when did you first see this?
I think we should let Adina go first and see.
Oh, gosh.
If she makes us cry. Okay, go
Yeah.
ahead.
Now the clock is. Now I've got a stopwatch over here in Ohio.
Okay. Well, I saw it, I'm pretty sure, when it first aired.
Mhm.
I don't remember, but that was also before I had lost my dad. So I always thought it was a good episode, a great episode, but it didn't have that personal meaning. And so let me skip ahead to 2011 and just explain, because I don't know if I've talked about it much on the podcast before, but my dad had essentially out of the blue stage 4 gallbladder cancer. And he was 64. He was the person we thought would easily live into his 90s. And we used to joke that I had to have room in my house for him and his model trains. That was the joke.
Oh,
So when
Very
out of the
sweet.
blue, he gets this cancer, and it was a kind of a whammy because, you know, we thought when he had the pain of gallbladdery stuff, we thought, oh, he probably has gallstones like I did, because I had gallstones when I was 16 and I had my gallbladder out. And then all of a sudden it's a metastasized cancer. And at first he told us that his prognosis was 1 to 2 years. So I'm all, well, Dad, you got to fight this. There's fancy treatments. We just got to go find them. And he was like, nah, he was not interested. He went on a quality of life, chemo treatment for a few months. And when he passed away 6 months later, and I'm like, WT, F, like what, he said the prognosis is 1 to 2 years. How is this 6 months later? And what happened? My stepmom confessed that my dad had very deliberately lied to us, because he was worried that if he had told us it was a 6-month prognosis, we would have upended our lives, or some of us.
yeah. Yeah.
Like maybe would have upended my life to, I don't know, do what.
Yeah.
So yeah, afterwards, it was very difficult to deal with, of course. I wrote a short story. It's on my blog. It's called A Time Travel Story. And what it is, it's about the main character trying to send a message back to their dad. And unfortunately, the irony in the story, giving away the story, is that the message had some weird radiation that wound up causing the dad to get cancer and die.
Oh,
So,
interesting.
um, yes. And so there was a time for a while afterwards, and I had seen this episode at some point in that first year or
Hmm.
two after
Hmm.
my dad passed. That I couldn't watch this episode. It was too painful.
Understandably.
Now, 15 years later, actually, it is. I watched it the other day,
Hmm.
and I think this is the that whole concept that that grief does change. It doesn't go
Hmm.
away, but it changes. So I was able to get through this episode now, but it was
Mm.
very raw, you know,
Hmm.
shortly after
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be some time, I think. Like I was able to watch this one. We just full disclosure, we recorded this episode previously, but we had some technical issues. So at that time, I
Yeah.
was able to watch it, and I was watching it as someone that lost my mother about 5 years before that. So I
Hmm.
was dealing with it, but it was okay because I'm still working through that grief. But now it's like, oh, I'm watching this after losing my dad, and now I'm an orphan technically, which I'm still kind of processing. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, it definitely is. I'm going to see how I feel if I watch it maybe in a couple of weeks and see how raw I am still dealing with
Hmm.
that. Um, yeah, thank you for sharing, Adina. That is a lot to deal with. I don't know, fortunate. I mean, like I appreciate my mom being very honest. So I had like when she got diagnosed with cancer, we knew right away, and I got a good like 8 years with her as we worked through it.
Yeah.
So it was a long time to sort of prepare. Uh,
Yeah.
yes, for
Well,
her passing.
and in retrospect, it's almost like I think I wanted to buy into the lie because I think at the time things weren't processing. It's like, well, wait a second. If you have 1 to 2 years, that's time to do something. Why aren't you trying to do something? I
Yeah.
didn't
Right.
get it, and if I had really thought about it, if I had actually applied some logic and really thought about it, I would have probably figured out that he was lying all along. But again, he was probably right to do so because yeah, I probably would have done something. I had my older son Frank was like just over a year old. I would have done something crazy like quit my job and move to Florida, which is like
Hmm.
which was not the right thing to do, and my dad knew it. But the thing is what makes this episode hard, okay, is not that I lost a parent.
Right.
It's that all of the things he's missed.
Yeah.
Hmm.
He
You,
was supposed
Wow.
to be there.
Hmm.
He was supposed to be there for me, for my
Hmm.
career, and for my son, for his grandkid. He was supposed to be there, and he missed all these things. And the amazing thing is that this episode, and which actually made it like a lot less sad when I was watching it, this last weekend, is in this actually like what was amazing is Jake's reaction, kind of knowing that he gets his dad for a few minutes every so
Hmm.
many years. That actually like should have been a very cool thing because it's like, yeah, my dad's not quite dead. I'm going to be able to update him on what's happening in life.
Hmm.
Now, of course, his scientific exploration wound up undoing the whole thing, and his dad never died, which is kind of a good thing. But like, I don't know. It's interesting that if I could like have my dad back for like a few minutes to get so he knows what's going on and he could give me advice
Hmm.
and all that stuff.
Hmm.
That would be like amazing. That'd be amazing.
yeah. I've often thought about that because I would love it if my mom or my grandparents could show up. Actually, if all of them could show up and just 'cause I really, for me, struggle with not being able to ever introduce her to my wife and
Mm-hmm.
to her
Hmm.
future
Yep.
grandkids and all that stuff. And I often thought that would be really cool to have her be able to come back just for a little bit, meet everybody. But part of me wonders, it's like, well, how hard would that be to process in terms of she's not really gone, but she's still gone for most of the time. What's that grieving like? Because we see Jake go through this where that's even for him, it's even harder because he sees his dad right away. And it's not even like he thinks it's a hallucination because I think Dax also sees him and other people interact with him.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
like, oh, he's really not gone. So then he sort of um, lives the rest of his life and, ends up getting married and
Mm-hmm.
writing
Hmm.
his books, but
Hmm.
then sort of damages those relationships because he's so focused on getting his
Yeah.
dad back, which he does because he knows that his dad is there because he's seen him. And his wife has even met him, which is a really wonderful scene. But I think that's where the struggle is because he knows he's out there. It's not just like, oh, he's gone, so now I have to go through the normal process of
Right.
grieving. But it's like in his
I
face, oh, actually his dad's out there. And probably suffering. We don't like it seems like he doesn't like Cisco himself is not aware of the time in between his
Right.
reappearances. So
He
it's
doesn't seem
he's
to be suffering
Yeah.
at all in any way,
Yeah.
shape, or
yeah.
form.
But still, I would be worried about like what's happening to him. It's like I saw my dad 10 years ago, but I know he's out there. He doesn't seem to be suffering, but I wouldn't be
yeah.
able to process that.
Yeah,
It's
Hmm.
it's
one of
not the
the
same thing as just like a parent die. It's not the same thing as if he had
right.
just completely
Yeah,
died.
It's
but I
so
would love to
important.
update my
Like
family.
one of the reasons it is so important for families to have the opportunity to bury their loved ones, to have that goodbye, to know that they actually died. Like, I can't fathom what it's like for someone to just have a family member go missing and to have no closure, to wonder, are they alive? Are they okay? Are they suffering? Are they being hurt?
Hmm.
Are
Hmm.
they being made to do unspeakable things every day against their, like what is going on? Like that would be a type of
Hmm.
grieving that
Hmm.
would be, I can only try to imagine, and would never wish on anybody. So for Jake in this episode, it is really hard for him to really let go, even though his dad a couple times said, Jake, let go. It's okay.
Yeah,
Hmm.
Live
live
your
your life.
life, you know? And so it's so moving. Like we can, on one sense, I can watch that and say, Jake, let go. But on the other hand, I'm going, well, if it was me, I don't know. That's difficult. If you know they're out there and you think there could be a solution, it would be really hard to let go. It would be excruciatingly hard to just let go because he's not dead after all. He's not
Hmm.
actually dead. And so when someone actually dies, there's there's a process of grieving that is so important and crucial and healthy.
Hmm.
Again, you grieve in different ways, and through the years, it changes and it feels different. But I know people that, and we've lost loved ones in my family. There are moments when I just something triggers a memory. I see something, I hear something, I smell something,
Hmm.
and it triggers a memory, and it's almost like all those things come rushing back into my heart as if
Hmm.
it was the day we celebrated their life and said
Hmm.
goodbye.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I think that is one of the most human things we experience, that we all experience, is that's human attachment and love and connection that doesn't want to let go. Just like Jake doesn't want to let go, we don't want to let go either. And it's powerful.
Right.
So let me ask, Chris, ask you this: Have you had the dream?
About my dad
So
or
yeah, so the recurring dream that I had, it is since faded. I haven't had it in a while, but I had it a lot at the very beginning, and for a while was, it's a dream and my dad's there, but I can't talk to him.
Oh,
I
He's like
have
interesting.
present.
I've not had that dream. I
It was
find with
very
my
disturbing.
yeah, that
Hmm.
sounds because I can't imagine what that'd be like and waking up from that.
Hmm.
I tend
Yeah.
to have a dream where I'm hanging out with my mom and we're just chatting and I'm like, hey mom, do you want to like cancel Maid because I think I maybe talked about this on a previous episode. But my mom, she, went through a medical assistance in death and dying. So it was a medical process where they essentially put her to sleep. And so I'll sometimes have dreams where I'm like, hey, mom, do you want to like cancel that and just go out for dinner? And then we sort of sometimes she's like, yeah, let's go do that. Other times it's like, no, I need to do this. But
Wow.
it's very conversational when I wake
Hmm.
up, like it's very real. There was a
Mhm.
dream I had about my dad where we were driving somewhere, and for whatever reason, we were following the GPS, but we just weren't getting to the destination.
Hmm.
And it's harder for me because I don't feel like I'll have the same dreams about my dad as I did my mom. because we're again, full disclosure.
But you
I feel
had a
like
different relationship. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, like we were rebuilding our relationship. There was a lot of struggles, and so there was a long time that he just was not in my life, and
Yeah.
chose, but I reconnected with him in like more recently in the last 4 years,
Mm-hmm.
and so I was able to sort of rebuild that a little bit. So it sort of is hitting different in the sense there was a long time where I didn't have him, so I'm a bit more used to it in a horrible, like in a not horrible way, but in a different way. Whereas
No,
my
that's
mom, I was with
understandable.
her every day
Mm-hmm.
for a very long time, except when I go off to school. So that's all to say. I tend to have reoccurring dreams about my mom and like us having that conversation, or just me updating her on life. Whereas my dad, I have not had really any dreams beyond that one where we were driving and we couldn't figure out where we
yeah.
were
Well,
or where
that
we
is
were trying to get
awesome
to.
that you actually can
Yeah.
have that in that your dream with your mom that you can actually have a conversation because that's the thing is it's like the dream that I have with my dad and again I haven't had it in a while when I do have it these days it tends to be in November which is both his birthday month and his anniversary of his death month but it's like it'll be like I see him walking through my house and I'm like dad and I can't be like it's like it's like imagine like a ghost walking through where you that doesn't interact with you. It's
Yeah.
like I said, it's highly, highly disturbing. It is not one of my favorite recurring dreams
Yeah.
at all.
Does it impact the rest of your day when you have those? Like, how do you find you function the rest of the day?
Um, I'm not 100% sure because it's been a while since I've had the dream. But
Mm-hmm.
again, for a while after he passed, I was having the dream, but I was having, just a lot of, just dealing with the grief for a while. Everything from, I would have thoughts and I'd be, just my normal day. I'd be like walking around and be like, oh, I got to call dad and tell him this. Oh wait, I can't, and it took a
Mm-hmm.
while for that to fade, like that to fade. And I did for a while see, a grief counselor about stuff too. And like I said, it's changed. Things are not as intense as they once were, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because I find if we're going off on like, again, this is all about grief and how we would process and how I've been processing compared to how Jake is processing it, where it's like I can function better every day because since it's been 5 years, it's 5 years of me getting used to my mom not being around, and so I'm able to like function every day. We remodeled the whole house, and so it's like now I have this new life with Dill and being married, so I have all that time that
Sure.
I'm used to not being with my mom. But at the same time, it gets harder because then I like often think about this is like it's been 5 years since I was able just to have a conversation with her, tell her about my day,
Hmm.
ask her, advice.
Mm-hmm.
And there are still times where I'm like, oh, I should ask my mom, and then I can't. And
Right.
it's very fleeting, but it happens. But I find with the grief, it seems like from my perspective and what I'm experiencing is every day gets easier in terms of being able to function day to day, but
Mm-hmm.
it's better in the sense that it's this many years since you're able to have a conversation with
Mm-hmm.
them. So I can only
Yep.
imagine that Jake is going through, well, it's been 20 years. I can't remember how long
50
the
years. It's 50 years between the wormhole opening
Yeah.
and when it reopens again.
yeah, but like in between, is it 50 years not in when he saves him, but
I mean,
like
there were a
between
couple times. I mean, there were a
experiences.
couple. He got a couple moments. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Just
imagine
like,
let's turn it around too though. Like
Mm-hmm.
I know Cisco Benjamin cannot he's not the measurement of time is not there for him. He's or the passing of time. He remains the same age in the same moment from his perspective.
Mm-hmm.
But imagine at the same time though the heartache of a parent seeing their child, their adult child struggle with the fact that he's not dead, that he's not a part of his life, and desperately wanting him to just live his life to the fullest. Like that is also a different type of pain. I mean, I am the world before kids was vastly different for me
Hmm.
now that I have children.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
so, how I feel about the world, how I feel about my kids' place, are they going to make their mark? Are they going to be safe? Are they going to be happy? Are they going to you know, all of these, are they going to make good decisions? Are they going to make good decisions for them? Not just what I want them to do, but are they going to, you know, really find their lane and thrive? And
Mm-hmm.
I desperately want that for them. Whatever they choose, whatever path they pick, I want them to be successful and experience life to the fullest. And I want them to take risks too, you know. I want them to learn from failure. I want them all of those things that are hard but necessary and a part of the human experience. So from Cisco, like that is a point of view that as I watch this episode now as a father myself, that I am, again, I've talked about this a lot in other places too. Like how I watch Star Trek now is vastly different than when I first fell in love as a teenage boy with Star Trek: The Next Generation. You know,
Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
think we've talked.
so
Yeah, we've talked about that
yeah.
before.
So for
Yeah.
me, also like the power, I can see myself as Jake Sisko for sure. But now as a dad, I can put myself in that place of Benjamin Sisko and go, wow, what was that like? You know? And then to be a friend, to be the friends of both of these, Jake and Ben, trying to help Jake, trying to be there for him, but also trying to help him live in the reality of this might not happen, you know?
Yeah.
Well, I
Yeah.
think the
What's
Yeah.
odd?
go ahead, Adina.
Oh, I was just going to say, you know, because for a lot of Star Trek, yeah, I've had that experience where seeing it now as an adult and as a mom is very different than, you know, when I saw it as a kid. This episode still didn't hit me the way
Yeah.
you're describing,
Yeah.
which is unusual. And it's
Mm.
probably still the whole loss of my dad is more intense still
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
than that,
Yeah,
Mhm.
for sure.
I
For
think.
Yeah.
sure.
It's interesting because for me, because I want to have kids, but it's not there yet. But I'm newly married, I guess, 2 years. We're about to celebrate our
Mhm.
second year anniversary,
You're
which I
still
or
newly
wedding
married, my
anniversary.
friend.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
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 indeed.
yeah,
still
yeah,
newly
yeah,
married.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So we're basically season two of not DS9. It can be DS9. We're there. We're learning. We're getting better.
Yes, yes.
Um, but that's all to say. So watching this episode pre-married and like when I was younger and even like say in 2019, it's very
Hmm.
much like, yeah, I think I would try and do the things that Jake is doing because
Mhm.
I'm not thinking about my theoretical wife, which it's like, hopefully I get married, hopefully I find the person, but you never know. But you're thinking
Mhm.
about that from, or I was thinking about it from, well, you know, I want to help my mom get through this. If it
Mhm.
was, but then being married, it's like, well, how can I do that? Because I'm married, I made a commitment to my wife and to be there for her and then to be there for our future kids. And so
Sure.
by then trying to Jake the situation, I'm gonna then what's the word I'm looking for? Not abandon my wife, but sort of I can't think of the
Yeah.
word, but I'm
Yeah.
not going to be able to fulfill what I'm supposed to fulfill for her. I'm not going to be the husband that she wants or needs
Yeah.
because I'll be devoting so much of that time to studying and not being with her to getting this person back. So I feel like it would be a lot harder for me to say, yeah, I'm going to do that now compared to say 2019 me. But I see
Okay,
Adina's
wait.
face. I'm curious to get her
Well, because did
comments.
you just say a second ago, did you just use Jake as a verb? Did you say
Yeah.
Jake the situation?
I'm gonna Jake the situation in that, like, not in a
Mm.
bad way, but in the way he's kind of solves this problem by like devoting a lot of time and energy to studying all the sci-fi physics to understand what's going on, so that he can
Just
ultimately figure out, oh, I just
okay.
have to like pass, and then he will get snapped back into time or back
Okay,
to the
you
day.
invented a new verb. It's called
Yeah.
Yeah, and
jaking.
I did not mean that.
Okay.
Jaking.
Seriously.
Just I was
Just the
just
way that he
checking and that
solved the
was about what I
problem.
heard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, yeah, that's Chris Fox, everybody. He
That's our
Thank you
buddy.
very much.
Yeah. Rewriting the dictionary. That's quite all right.
Steve,
Hey,
what are
did
some of
you,
your
Yeah.
thoughts, my
I,
friend?
I
You've
just
been
been
very
listening.
quiet
I've
and
just been
peaceful.
listening to you two, share your feelings, Adina and Chris, because my dad passed away 10 years ago. Okay. And we were not prepared for that. Elaine and I were on vacation and I
Oh
get a
wow.
phone call while we're looking at the beautiful scenery of Zion National Monument, and my sister calls up and says Dad died, and so we had to rush home to end our vacation, do that. So it was unprepared with my dad. With my mom, it was different. We were prepared. We knew what was going on, and so. But you mentioned about the dreams, and yeah, I have the same thing. I have dreams of my parents still alive, and being the oldster here, going to be 70 this year, and I always going, no, I'm not ready for my life to end because there is so much fun I'm having, and there's so much to watch and see the progression of my daughters and my grandson. And so, yeah. And in the case of Jake, I can understand why he did everything he could because he knew that his dad wasn't physically dead. He was just in another realm. And if he could tap into that realm and be able to pull him back, then he would have his father, except his dad would be the younger of the two. The dad would be more of the son than the father because of the age difference, especially at the very end when Jake is a very, very old man at that point and decides that he's going to end his life to bring his father back. I mean, the ultimate sacrifice, a child making sure that the parent in the universe doing what they can to keep the other one alive, no matter what. So I understood and I really appreciated. The one thing that was surprising at the very end, the last scene, when Cisco reappears, when they recreate the event because the string had been broken, and Cisco says, like, how did you know about that? And I thought, he would say, I don't know. I guess I lived this one time before or something like that, that he had some realization why he stepped away and avoided recreating the event one more time. So that was kind of interesting about that.
Yeah.
And, Chris, you mentioned earlier that, we had a problem. We recorded this discussion before. When I watched it the first time, because I don't remember seeing it before when we were going to do the last time we did the discussion about it, but watching it again this time and knowing what you were going through, I had a different feeling about this episode. It touched me more, especially at the very end when Jake's life comes to an end in his father's arms or, with his father. Yeah. So, it was a different feeling. It was a different feeling from watching it than the last time.
It's really a marvelous, beautiful, sad, spectacular scene in Star Trek history, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like those two actors, Tony Todd and Avery Brooks, were superb. And Cirroc Lofton was superb. This is one of his finest hours too. But it's an absolutely beautiful. This is one of those episodes that to me, there are episodes of Next Gen people talk about and continue talking about, like The Inner Light. People are still touched by that episode so deeply. This episode, I think, Far Beyond the Stars 2 is another Deep Space Nine one that people are deeply touched by and impacted by. This, I mean, the music to this, the musical score for this episode matches the level of the special thing happening here. And it's one of the great things about Deep Space Nine. And I don't know anybody who's a true DS9er who doesn't say one of the things that draws them to the show year after year after year is the relationship between Jake and his dad. It is one of the shining beacons of Deep Space Nine. And it's marvelous. And this episode just highlights it as good. There's other episodes like The Explorers where Jake and his dad go in the ship, like you mentioned, Chris, continues to be one of my favorite episodes. And it's a beautiful thing the writers and producers did with this father-son relationship. And it's really like, we've mentioned this in the past too, but I mean, I think this should this relationship of this African American man and his son is on par with the other black dads of the era on television. Like I wish that Avery Brooks would get more acknowledgement and Deep Space Nine would get more acknowledgement for its era of how it portrayed a black man on television.
Outside of Star Trek, because I think in the Star Trek community, I think he gets that due.
Yeah,
but I think
absolutely.
outside the community,
yeah. It was also interesting that this episode is entitled "The Visitor." So the first time I watched it, I thought, "Oh, the visitor is Melanie.
Yeah.
She's the visitor." But I come away thinking the visitor is really Cisco.
Yeah, that's what I kind of always thought it was.
Yeah, and so I looked at it again. This is in watching it the second time, taking a different perspective and realizing, he's just someone who's telling his story because she just happens to show up on. It was a dark and stormy
Which
night.
is weird. I'm gonna say that was like that kickoff to the episode was just like the weirdest, hokiest thing ever.
It would have been if maybe a little change if she was in her own way some way of a link to between the whole thing that
it would have made more sense if that was a prearranged meeting.
Yes, that's good.
That's what I mean. Like,
as if Jake had said he knows what he was doing that day. That was the day he was going to end his life to bring his father back, and he contacted this young person to come to tell his story. Or
she reached out. She's like, "Hey, I'm a fan. I want to learn from you." And then he decided, "Oh, okay, yeah, we'll meet." And he knows that that's going to be the day. Just her randomly showing up on a dark and stormy night like that.
Yeah,
that's weird.
That's so Jake could tell his story. We could watch that story happen.
But they could have set that up.
You're absolutely right.
In a different way. It was a prearranged, interview, which would have made way more sense than just this young woman just shows up on this old man's doorstep.
Christian, until this very moment, I viewed this episode as perfect.
Sorry.
Not anymore, thanks to Adina.
Sorry.
I never really thought about that. Adina, I get it. You're right.
She's holding up the mirror and she's showing what it, but again, like with everything in Star Trek, we have to accept a grain of unreality to allow the story to come forward.
I think the one thing that saves that for me is that we get to we already know that Jake is thoughtful, but now we get to see how thoughtful he is. The fact that he's like, hey, he lets her in, he helps her out, he gets her gets her hot chocolate, heals her. And it's just like, oh, look, he's kind of grandfatherly in a way that we haven't seen him before. Okay. So I like that exchange.
And that could have all still worked and been true if it was a prearranged meeting.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because it could still have been a dark and stormy night, and sorry that you have to come out here in this weather, but this is when we arranged for it.
And isn't this actress related to somebody else on the show or a producer?
That sounds right. I remember reading something like that in the Memory Alpha, but I don't recall who she's related.
I wish I could remember
that. I have Memory
that.
Alpha open, so while you guys talk, I will look.
Okay, well,
and this is not a
talk amongst yourselves. Go on.
I wish we could have seen this, but like Bash and Dax, they have this conversation around like holographic displays and like how it's odd to be using two-dimensional displays. It's like I wish we could have seen these futuristic holographic displays.
Well, here's another thing about this episode. It's interesting,
but I always thought that was interesting.
Okay, here's another interesting thing about the episode, which I thought about while I was watching it, is that when did Terry Farrell leave the series? The end of season 6. Mm-hmm. But in this episode, she is 50 years older. She has been around to the very end.
That's epic.
And now, because of this, that timeline has changed. All her life of experience of those 50 years is gone.
Oh my God! I've never heard anyone mention that about.
You want to figure like here's what happened. What makes the most sense is because Cisco wasn't there, and I think they had this whole conversation around
everything changed.
The Klingon Empire still being at war with Cardassia, Cisco not being able to save that. So by doing that, it prevents Gul Dukat from being able to acquire the and why am I hitting my chest
Right.
like a communicator? The
Yeah.
or
Paw race. Yeah.
the paw
Okay.
wraiths,
Yeah.
and that he gets sucked
Sorry,
or
Chris. You
he
guys
absorbs.
are impressing me left and right with this discussion
Mm-hmm.
tonight. This is
Okay.
amazing.
I'm going to say, obviously the whole timeline changed, when
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jake did
Yeah.
this. Like, I feel like that's
Yeah.
kind of, and that's
Yeah.
one of the things is so like I said, I'd written this story after my dad passed, this time travel story where the person's trying to, send a message. And just one of the things that I thought about over the years, because for a short while after my dad passed, yes, I would have done anything to turn back the clock
Mm-hmm.
to prevent his cancer.
Mm-hmm.
But at this point, it's been 15 years. I can't do that.
Hmm.
Like at this point, I can't do that. I don't want to change anything as much as I miss my dad.
Mm-hmm.
I do
Yeah.
not want to go back 15 years and change anything because I've
Hmm.
had a whole life in 15 years. I have another son
Right.
that is
Mm-hmm.
named
Yes.
Raymond after my dad because my dad
Yep.
passed, right?
Yep.
And I can't, it's too late, I guess. Like there's like some point in
Yeah.
time where you really don't want to make any changes. And I always say this, like people talk about like, would you want to go back and win the lottery? And I always say that yes, but I want to go back like within a week. I'm willing to lose the
Yeah.
timeline of the last week or few days.
Yeah.
But more
Mhm.
than that, and no.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree because it's funny that Dylan and I had a conversation where she's like, "How would you feel if your mom was still alive, or would you want that to be the case, or be able to change that?" And it's like, as much as I miss her, you're right, Dina. It's like I haven't had 15 years, but I've had 5 years, which is still a long time.
Yeah.
So it's a long time of different experiences. Again, getting married, renovating the house, just living this life
Mm-hmm.
with Dill, and job wise, just all that stuff would be changed. And I don't know where I would be if my mom was still alive and like how that would change. And it's like, so I wouldn't want to impact
Mm.
that.
Mm. But you
So
said
that's
something. So there's a very key nuanced thing. Okay. There's
okay.
a difference between saying if my dad was alive and present today versus going
Yeah.
back and changing the past. If
Right. True.
magically we invented the technology that I could take my dad's ashes and reconstitute him and make him alive today, yes, I'm in. That is not the same thing as going back to the past.
I
Well,
don't know if I'm in only because I'm like spiritually, I don't know what happens to the body
Hmm.
when you die. And it's like, well, like let's say he's in heaven, and if I then reconstitute the ashes into him, does he get pulled from that? And does that
Oh,
impact?
wow.
But it's also just like, I don't know.
Wow.
As much as I would love to like be able to have a conversation with him or my mom again, I don't know.
You don't want to pull him
Dude.
out of paradise to come
and
back to this world.
right. And the other
Oh,
thing,
that's
Chris,
so
the
wow.
other thing, Chris, to consider is what would you give up to have
Yeah.
that happen? What would you trade?
Mm.
I mean, that's what Jake did. He traded his life
His life. And
to
we don't
bring
even
his father back.
But
So
not
the question,
completely.
not
'Cause
completely.
he was believing that he was still, again, he would still have a life.
Yes. Yeah.
He
Yeah.
like he wouldn't know that he had done
Yeah,
this.
it's still a sacrifice. It doesn't
It's a
take away the
sacrifice, but
sacrifice he's making, but he did
It's-
live a full life,
Right.
and he's gonna at least in his mind understand that he's gonna
Giving
get
him-
all
that he was-
those years back with
yes,
his
he was
dad.
giving himself a second chance, which is not the same thing as just a true, like, yes, it is a big sacrifice, but it's
I've
not the
got-
same thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I'm
Yeah.
curious.
Mm.
Like we know, thankfully, this is one of the things I love about Academy is that we get to see that okay, Jake was able to live a full life with
Mhm.
his dad, even though he not the same thing, but his dad still went and lived and joined the prophet. So without really knowing when he would come back. And again, it's this weird thing of he's not dead because he's not physically dead, but he's also not just hanging around. I can't talk to him every day because he's
Yeah.
off somewhere. And it's
And-
like he makes a
and-
comment around, I could be back tomorrow. I could be back yesterday. So Jake really has no idea, but I'm glad that we're able to see that Jake, the version that didn't lose his dad to the accident, at least got to live a full life and was married and had kids. We don't know
So
if it's the
Right.
same.
Why
that-
didn't that Jake try to
Oh.
bring his dad back from the prophets?
yeah,
Good
I,
point.
You know
But
what
that
I
would have
find
been season
interesting?
8 or 9 or 10 or 12.
This is the most
Hey.
freaking existential conversation we've
You
ever
want
had,
to let's
guys.
get more like nitty. I maybe I'm wrong about this, but what I love in this episode is there's the whole like conversation that he has with Kira, where Kira's like, "I'm going to give you some time, but when I tell you to go, you're going to get off the station."
Right,
And what I
right.
love is they're at like a viewport and they're looking out into the stars, and
Mm-hmm.
then just after or like sometime after Cisco goes off with the profits and what you leave behind, it ends with a shot of Jake looking out that I think the same viewport with
Yeah,
Kira
yeah.
beside him as it pans out of the station. So I just love that in both realities you
Yeah.
have him at the window, Kira by his side. But yeah, I don't know why this Jake was able to, I guess, deal with the fact that his dad was gone
Yeah.
compared to
It
Well,
could have
you
Not
it could
guys,
have
having to
been simply he
recall
was a
that.
couple years older.
Oh.
It could have been
yeah.
simply that believing that going off with the profits was a little bit more final.
Mhm.
Right.
And
But
something that he
also,
also wanted to do.
mhm.
I think Cisco kind of conveys, or I keep calling him Cisco. They're both
Yeah.
Cisco, but Ben was
Yeah.
or conveyed that he was okay with this, and that it was
Yeah.
just
Mhm.
something that he was willing to accept.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, in the last episode of DS9, he has no recollection of having experienced this one time before.
Does he? I thought he did have it because
He
I remember
doesn't
when he jumps out of the way, he kind of remembers he's
just
told by Jake, "Oh, jump out of the way," and so when he gets back, he's like, "Oh, I gotta jump out of the way."
right, but even Jake doesn't say, why did I do that? Why did I tell him that? Why did I, have him avert the blast?"
Mhm.
And that doesn't carry forward. It's just a moment. It was
I
just a
thought it was
moment.
just like Jake that didn't remember. I thought that was one of those things
Yeah.
where it's happened, but obviously he's going to tell Jake about it because that's a wild thing to say to tell your
Yeah,
kid.
that's not something he would I
Yeah.
feel like
Yeah.
if well he first of all he averted the accident. So it didn't
Hmm.
happen, right? So I don't think there's anything for anyone to say. But
Yeah, whether it
even
happened or
right, but even if if Ben did remember all of it, I wouldn't tell my kid.
yeah, that's something that's very like
Right.
you just kind of just leave it. I
Right.
don't know
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
or what
because
the point is.
the last thing Jake tells him at the end is to avoid.
Yeah.
It's
Mhm.
like
And
here's my warning to you. Do this, so you don't have Groundhog Day.
yeah,
Yeah,
and not only
Groundhog Day
that,
would be like 50 years or whatever.
well, but a few minutes for Ben, so
Hmm. But
not
Right.
potentially, if he hadn't like gotten out of the way, it could have been Groundhog Day for 50 years repeatedly,
Oh my
over
goodness.
yeah.
50 years.
Series would have
Yeah.
been very different after that.
Very
Yeah.
different.
Yes. Yes.
So I have a story I want to share with you guys that's very
Sure.
touching about a father-son experience I had just a couple weeks ago. And hearing you guys talk, Adina about your dad, Chris about your dad and your mom, and Steve even about your dad, kind of
Hmm.
made it come into the forefront of my memory, where I was in the car with my son. We were driving home and we had been given some cookies. We went to a dinner theater, had been gifted a night at a dinner theater, and driving home, we had also been someone who won cookies because they guessed correctly who done it. Their answer was hysterical, so the cast said this person deserves these cookies. That couple graciously gave it to my kids. And so my kids are enjoying the cookies in the back seat as we're driving home. And I'm like, Brody, man, I'd love one of those cookies. And he goes, No, Dad, you're diabetic. And
Oh.
I go, Son, you better give me a cookie right now. and and he goes, Dad, it's not good for you. And I'm like, Son, I know it's not good for me, but I can have one cookie. Now you better give me the cookie, son. And he goes, he goes, But Dad, I'm going to need you to be around for me. You don't
Oh,
need to eat
wow.
this cookie.
Oh,
You talk
Wow.
about like all of a sudden I didn't want the stupid little cookie.
Yeah.
You know,
That is like taking the cigarette away from your parents and saying,
right? Right.
"Don't do this."
Yeah, so
Wow.
it was a powerful moment for me. I was
Yeah.
still a little annoyed at the twerp for not giving me the cookie. I'm not gonna
I
lie.
get that. I understand. I can
Just
relate.
called my son a twerp. I don't really mean it, guys. But
What did it
I
say?
just it's that type sometimes in
Yeah.
life
Uh-huh.
we need someone who loves us the most or who is we you know, has just got our back
Hmm.
to have our back and to tell us a harsh
Yeah.
reality or truth of why they're important why we are important to them or vice
Yeah.
versa. And I think that is this episode just beautifully as a part of D Space Nine's whole narrative story of father son relationship.
Hmm.
This is how important Ben Sisko was to his son Jake, and it was his decision. It wasn't our decision. It was his decision, and so we get to have wonderful conversations like this about it and
Hmm.
about such a beautiful episode.
Hmm.
And it's remarkable. Like the fact that we're still talking about this episode of Star Trek is remarkable, guys. I
Hmm.
mean, this is a once this I mean, I think we need to acknowledge this. This there are so many Star Trek episodes that we love, sure,
Sure.
but
Sure.
it's episodes like this, The Inner Light. I've
Hmm.
had a couple people tell me their all-time favorite Star Trek episode recently is The Arena from the original series
Oh, that's
because
cool. I love the arena.
Kirk doesn't kill the Gorn.
Yeah.
Kirk
Hmm.
shows grace. Kirk says, "Hey,
Hmm.
you're not the bad guy. We're both
Hmm.
being forced to do like, you know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like that changed their life. It made them
Mhm.
think of the world differently. And so
Hmm.
there are these episodes like this are so stinking rare.
Hmm.
And we're doing what we're doing. We're celebrating it. We're talking about our own experiences.
Hmm.
And the best Star Trek, in my opinion, does this for us fans, where we can sit around and for an hour or more
Hmm.
talk about one single story as if we just watched it for the very first time.
Hmm.
And now we're all in different places. Chris has had this recent experience, unfortunately, with losing
Hmm.
his dad, but we're getting to talk like I see this, Chris, as like this is part of your journey. You know, Adina, this is part of for all of us. This is part of our journey to talk about this, and it's marvelous that a piece of media is allowing us to process even more and to show each other. You know, you're not alone. It's
Yeah.
fantastic.
I mean, that's
Well,
what art's supposed to be, right?
yeah,
Mhm.
it's supposed to be personal. It's supposed to touch you in a way. And this does. And this episode is very special. And I give also kudos to Michael Westmore, who did the makeup in this. I
Mhm.
mean, when you start watching it, when I first started the first time, I thought, oh, this is an older actor playing this Jake at this age. And then you see him later on in the episode, stands all the old man makeup, and you go, wow, what a great
Yeah.
job. Or even when you see Bashir and Dax as older people, and they go, I mean, they were just doing this one episode, one scene, and they did such a great job of aging them
Yeah,
well.
probably some of the best. Like, still not
Really
perfect, but
good.
it's still like a lot better than like other episodes we've seen. So, yeah, the makeup was really great, and to the point. And I love Tony Todd to the point where when I watch, why am I blanking? Like TNG or any other DS9 episode where Tony comes back as Kern, I still
Yeah.
hear Jake Sisko because I just love his performance
Yeah, yeah,
in that.
Mm.
Just so
Yeah.
yeah,
great. And yeah, it
yeah.
is phenomenal that this show is very old. I actually don't when was this released? Do we have that
I've got right
information?
here.
But
It
like,
was
95.
1995. Yeah,
Oh,
October
yeah, so
wow.
9th.
31 years
Wow.
ago, and we're
Mm-hmm.
still talking about this single episode. That's amazing. And we're all coming at it from different perspectives, which I is really, really
Yeah.
powerful.
So,
It
by the
doesn't alter
way,
it. Yes.
oh,
Go
since I've
ahead.
got it up, so Rachel Robinson, who played Melanie,
Yeah.
Oh,
uh,
yes.
daughter of Andrew Robinson, Garrett,
Yes.
Ah,
Okay.
right, right.
Ah, okay.
and apparently
Thank
she was
you.
a leading candidate for Esri Dax.
I now
Ah,
that you
good.
say that, I remember hearing that. Yeah.
Thank you,
Hey.
Memory Alpha and Wikipedia.
Yeah. Hey, can I do something kind of different?
You gonna wear your hat on backwards?
No, I'm not. No,
Okay.
It's not rally cap time, Steve. But I would like to just make a toast
okay.
tonight. Because I think it's worth it. I've got a cup given to me by a relative who is very special to my family. And in my cup, I have a little wee bit, the last serving of my beloved Four Roses bourbon that I had on vacation. I don't drink a lot, but when I do, I prefer it to be bourbon. Just FYI, if anyone cares to send me a case here and there. But only one because I'm diabetic.
Right.
So,
That's why it's for sipping. It's not for chugging. It's for sipping.
Yeah, it's for sipping. But I would like to just honor Chris's dad.
Yeah.
And more than that, honor Chris that you had the opportunity to rebuild a little bit with him. Even if it wasn't perfect, that is a chance not many men or people get with their fathers. And so I just want to honor that, my friend, and honor your loss. And we're here for you. And Adina,
It doesn't change.
There's something between a father and a daughter that is very special. And I have that with my daughter, and it changes as the daughter gets older. But there's something in a daddy's heart for their daughter that can't be described. Nope. So I'm not going to try. There's a love there and a sparkle in a father's eye for their daughter. So I want to honor your dad and honor the fact that it's still hard some days. And Steve, for your mother and your father.
Yeah, sure.
You're a self-proclaimed old man. You said this episode, you're the old guy.
Yep.
But thanks for being a good dad. That's what I want to honor.
I will tell you this. Whenever I think of my daughters, they're not 42 and 37. They are still about 3 and 5. And that's where they're, that's the moment.
So for you, sir, being a good father, and I'd like to toast my beloved Aunt Connie, who passed away unexpectedly from cancer a few years ago, and both of my grandmothers, Norma and Nancy, who I wish like heck my kids could have known. But guys, to all of those things, and most of all to the three of you, dear friends, family, love you guys. Cheers.
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 Cheers. Thank you.
Not the same with water.
It's okay. It is, but it is non-diabetic, the water, so it's okay.
That is true.
But truly, you guys, and I've said this before, and I'll keep saying it, you guys keep me young. My grandson keeps me young. The people I work with keep me young because I don't feel old. I don't. There's sometimes get up in the morning, but just being with people who I can share and be with, especially you three folks, you are family for all of us. We're all family here, and that's what makes it special. And that's why, Chris, I give you kudos and for your bravery to watch to take this episode, which is to heart, and to still anchor it and host it, and that says so much about your character as a person, as do all of us. And if you start crying now, I'm going to be in trouble.
No, so far I'm okay. It might hit me later, but I'm good. Thank you.
Cue the outro.
You're done. Go ahead, buddy.
Well, that does it for another great discussion here on the Big Sci-Fi Podcast. Thank you all for listening. Remember, you can find us where you find your favorite podcasts, and we love getting feedback, questions, or even suggestions for future episodes. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll catch you next week, same place, same time.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Big Sci Fi Podcast. We're a proud part of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network, and you can listen to more of our over 150 episodes at trekgeeks.com. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel now. Until next time, live long and prosper.